It was a gun.
Not voting.
If we want to build our nation.
The problem with the Somalians.
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move
Can't be like a horse with blinkers.
Honestly say, I was about to have sex and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice.
2 days ago, there was a fire on Loop Street. And most of the people that inhabited this place were immigrants. You know, that place burned down and the people had to be sent out. But guess where they sent them? They sent them to Philippi. Now, some of the people that were affected by the xenophobic attack last year are still living in refugee camps as we speak today. You know, so they have not been reintegrated, and even this reintegration thing, I don't know how it's going to happen. But they were expecting these people who suffered the blaze on Loop Street to go to Philippi. Now that is like actually giving you one option. It's either you go there, you know, and you get killed, you know, by somebody that doesn't like you as a foreigner in South Africa, or you don't have a place to stay. But if there was a forum where people could speak, you know, as a group of immigrants, you know, in South Africa, you know, to say that, listen, guys, you know, let's start educating the people that you want us to be integrated with.
South Africa, from a political point of view, like from a governmental point of view, they completely failed because they didn't know how to address that issue. They didn't know how to handle the xenophobia attacks. So they put the immigrants in a camp and they are still there. So you can still see they have problems to address that. A reason for that, from my point of view, is that South Africa as such has still a problem to deal with itself, with the different races and everything. You know, we are just a couple of years down the line of segregation laws and policies and apartheid government. So South Africa is still in a development phase where they still need to handle in general, like the differences between the people, the human beings living in that country. And look at Cape Town. Every cultural group still has its own section in most of the parts of the city. There's no interaction happening.
I don't think it's purely just to do with the fact that, oh, he's a makwerekwere, as they put it, or he's a foreigner, or he's an immigrant. It's not purely like based on that. I think like if you scratch beneath the surface a bit more, it goes a bit deeper than that, and if you scratch even more, you understand that, okay, it's actually like a mentality thing that came from apartheid. Like the regime was so heavy, like on these people, especially on the black community. They'd whip them, but they'd let them know that, look, you're still better than all the other Africans, and just to like try and, you know, like cover up that wound that they've created by segregating their own people.
Apartheid laws, you know, it really put a lot of hate inside, you know, the ones who were suffering against these laws, you know, and it put them.
Everybody suffered. Actually. Yeah, everyone was in South Africa because South Africa couldn't interact with any other countries. Olympic Games, World Cup, on any level, like they were just like nope. You know, and if you had any ties with South Africa as well, all the other ties you had would completely vanish.
For me, the most disturbing thing about it was how it was such a black-on-black thing. Because if you're going to call it xenophobic, then you need to include all foreigners, all immigrants, or foreign nationals in the whole thing. But what ended up happening was that it became more of a lower class situation, and it became a poverty situation, it became an education situation, because I think when you come to that kind of a conflict, it's got a lot to do with ignorance, like racism does, you know. It's very much based on ignorance, and it's so much easier to create an other and say they are, they do, you know, they, because then you sort of like, but for me what was most disturbing is that you had all these terrible acts, and it was sort of just like, but don't you see yourself in those people? I mean, at the end of the day, we're all Africans, and we've all pretty much suffered through the same kind of persecution, through any kind of colonial regime. And it was so disturbing to see that South Africans had sort of surpassed that and forgotten about that and were willing to hate people who are so much more like themselves. And that was the biggest problem. And I think that education will come a long way. But I don't know if people are willing to be educated, because it is, as Walter said, so much easier to target the weakest people against you.
Do you think it, like the whole xenophobia attacks came because of the people, of the single human being? Or do you think that there was somebody behind that, like an organization or something?
Well, see, there's a lot of conspiracy theories around it. You know, there's a lot of people who say, well, you know, it couldn't have gone down in such an organized form as it did, because I mean, it was literally like just boom, boom, boom. It started in Alex, and before you knew it, it was down in Cape Town, and it did sort of stink of a, you know, an organized, you know, whatever. But I don't think everybody who was involved was part of this organized thing.
One of the main reasons why, you know, some immigrants had to suffer the xenophobic attacks was because they claimed that the immigrants took their girlfriends, their wives. Now, if you were in this situation, I'll make it practical. Say, for example, you were my girlfriend or you were my wife, okay? And somebody, I was being attacked, you know, and they were chasing me with all these pankers, you know, and sticks and everything. What were you going to do? You know, how were you going to respond to it?
What can I do? You know, what kind of physical armor do I actually have? I'm not about to fight, like, you know, whatever. Like, of course I'd be frantic and whatever, like, or call the police. But I think what you want to ask me is how would I feel?
Yeah, that's
because there's not much I can do, you know. And how I would feel, I mean, would be a general disappointment. I mean, how it's a frustration. People fall in love for different reasons, you know. I mean, it would depend. Did I?
That's fucking
did we have an arrangement? Like, were we, you know, whatever? Or do I genuinely love you? And that puts in a whole lot of different stuff to the spin as well.
But do you think that could ever be a genuine reason why immigrants could be, you know, attacked?
No, of course.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, absolutely. The power of pussy, man. The power of pussy. You can't. I'm serious. I'm serious. If you I'm serious. So if you look, man. When you're young, especially young, man, it's a way. When you're 18, 17, 18, and that's what you want, man. That's all you can think about is girls. You know what I'm saying? And if you in a lower income situation where you can't maybe dress nice or impress in other ways, and then you have what you see as foreigners taking the girls, man. I mean, sexual frustration is one of the most...
Can I break it down to you?
Yes.
Let's break it down, okay? Especially here in South Africa, you know. Correct me if I'm wrong, okay? There is 1 guy to 3 girls in South Africa.
2 to 1, yeah.
Oh, 2 to 1. Well, even if it's just 2 to 1, that's... I mean, in a situation like that, you know, if you actually know about these statistics, why would you be worried if one...
I don't know.
You don't know why.
Because that's the one you like. You know, that's all that matters.
You're gonna see a couple of a South African lady with an Angolan girl, Nigerian girl, even a guy from Cameroon, you know. And you see that, hey man, you know, this guy he's a hardworking man, just like my man. But when he comes home, he doesn't take his frustration out on his woman, you know. And then you see it happening with 1, 2, 3 couples, you know.
So basically,
you know, and so obviously you're gonna be like, hey, you know what? Like I know I'd be like that. It's like, hey, I find myself a good Nigerian man. I'm gonna keep him. I mean, you know, because he's not gonna beat me up.
Ultimately, it is up to her.
Yeah,
it is up to her to choose.
That's the thing. It is a decision she made.
You get your girl taken, that's your fault.
Yeah,
you know,
you're not doing the right job.
If she doesn't want to be with you, you know, you kind of blame it on me. Exactly. Blame it on her. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So.
Same thing you said for the jobs as well, right?
Exactly, for the jobs as well. I mean, if a boss, you know, if I'm this big guy and I own this company, and the one guy is from, say, Ivory Coast, comes to me, and I know that he's hardworking, as opposed to a local guy, and I employ the guy that is hardworking. I mean, why would you be having beef with the guy from Ivory Coast?
Because man, there's a certain point, there's a amount of exploitation as well, and a lot of times you can find immigrants that are willing that employers can pay less. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where the problem goes for, where a local says, okay, I don't like it because this guy's willing to do my work but half the price because he comes from a poor area. So I think that's kind of where the problem is. I think it's a matter of exploitation by the employer.
Okay, but still, I mean, this guy from Ivory Coast is taking the job because he needs the money.
Absolutely.
You understand?
I'm not knocking that, but I'm just saying.
If this guy really needed the money, I mean, why would he really bother? Because obviously, he's not willing to work for that amount of money that the boss wants to pay. But then this guy from Ivory Coast wants to because he needs the money. So why should it be a beef between the two of them? You know, I should be knocking myself down that I didn't take the job just because the boss doesn't want to pay me the money that I'm expecting. I should go somewhere else to look for another job, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm saying just from like a basic economic principle, it's like if you allow the employer to run the rates, putting aside standard of living, like I don't know, maybe whoever it is from the immigrant is there and he's living with 10 other people in like a 2-bedroom place and they all living together working for nothing and then sending money home. It's not the same as somebody who's from here, who's got a family here, you know, and expects a certain wage in order to maintain the standard of living. So I think that it's not the same comparing. It's not the same comparing. And then when you let them drive down the wages, then it drives down the wages for everybody. And it's a matter of like, even as employers, that's why you set a minimum wage, because if not, employers are going to drive down the wages because they can always find somebody who's going to work for less, you know. And then at the end, it's the workers that are getting screwed.
Okay, so but the question is now that if that is the case, right? You know, there is a minimum wage for everybody, and these guys don't want to work, you know, for that wage. So it means that everybody must stand back now, and there's space, there's gap for a job, and nobody's gonna take it just because they don't want to take that wage.
Yeah, okay, I agree, but it's like if you look at some of the hard work, like Walter can tell you, like he's worked out on the site, like the amount of work that they do, like, you know, out in the sun, backbreaking work, and how little they make, you know, that's how it goes. So I mean, money is money, and you can always find someone who's willing to do the work, but people aren't getting paid what they deserve. And then if you have people coming in working for even less than that, then what do you do?
You know, they have unions in place that are going to, you know, watch their asses. You know, they're going to cover them. They're going to back them up. They're going to go to the bosses and say, listen, you need to pay this guy so much. Whereas some people don't have these unions behind them. Immigrants, they don't. You know, nobody's going to back them up. Nobody's going to say, listen, this guy's working so much, he needs to be paid so much. Nobody's ever going to do that. It still comes back to my point of, you know, immigrants not having a platform.
Do the unions exclude foreigners or immigrants? No. If you work in a mine in Joburg or wherever, you can be part of the National Union of Mine Workers. Yeah, absolutely. You can, so then you have your union.
I don't think that I am trying to attack anybody. I'm just saying that we don't have enough information, you know, that goes down. You know, we don't have projects that have been put in place to start addressing these issues. And I don't know, maybe there's somebody out there who is thinking about it, but
no, surely
we should be also thinking about something, you know, that we could
thinking
do.
About it, there's a whole lot of people thinking about it and even talking about it.
Yeah.
You know, but the problem has been is like you said, there isn't a podium for, you know, for these issues to be addressed, or people are still living in fear. I don't know what it is, like, but I think the problem is that these things always stay in between four walls or in between a certain circle.
Yeah,
you know, it hasn't gone. Nobody has been able to take that step further for various reasons. You know, some of which we may know, some will not.
Xenophobia is not a South African thing. You look at every single country, and at any time, especially now that we're in a recession, anytime times are hard, people are going to kind of close up within the community, and they're always going to look. If you look in America, there's problems against Mexicans right now. In Italy, they got beef with Romanians. You know, in Japan, they got problems with the Koreans, Taiwanese, and Chinese. So it's like people are always going to look. So it's not a matter of getting rid of xenophobia. I guess it's a matter of getting it to a more tolerable level where it's not like a physical. You know, but you can't eliminate it. The government can't eliminate xenophobia. Come on.
Actually, my dream is to create an empire where we actually help in terms of talent, whether you're doing art, whether you're doing music, whether you're doing film, anything, that you can come to us and ask us for that help. We don't want to be guys who are part of an elite, you know, or untouchables. No. We still want to have people coming in, talking to people, and seeing where we can help them.
You know, like you have these Hollywood recognized producers, OJ, or Kepne Ojang is gonna be one of those names also one day.
Mine is to be part of the team that like helped reconstruct Mozambique from what it is now, you know. Especially after, or the post floods team, yeah, let's put it that way. Because ever since the floods, it's been like Mozambique has been crawling. Like it will take 5 steps forward and like 8 back. So it seems, you know. So like I want to be part of that team that like helps it just progressively steadily go forward, you know.
No, actually, I'm very happy here in South Africa, and at the moment it's still like a startup phase. It's just my 3rd year here in South Africa, and I would like to spend a lot of more years in South Africa. That's really a dream because I really love it here.
People talk about retirement. I don't want to have to retire. I want to enjoy, wake up every day, enjoy what I'm doing so that I can keep doing it as long as I want, you know? It's like I don't want to wake up and hate going to work or facing life or whatever. I just want to be happy with looking forward to the day.
My dream is to leave a positive legacy, to know that I've lived a life worth living, and that I've realized every single dream that I've ever had for this particular life.